the first time I've ever done this.
You're all out of breath and everything.
I am. Recording. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Over 50 Starting Over. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison.
Yeah, and here we are. It's the final week of August. And
oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I am frantically getting ready for my new renters to come in to the rental place. So I had to bring my computer back here to the office because this is my podcast stuff is all here. And
so you're running back from your other place.
Yeah, I'm redoing a kitchen floor and today installing a dishwasher and garbage disposal and trimming a giant tree, and things won't stop, man.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm going
trimming a giant tree.
Yeah, with one of those big, long, extended saws. That was exhausting.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely exhausting.
Oh, I can imagine. You know what? One time I had to, I got tricked into helping somebody put drywall on their ceiling. And so it's just,
it's horrible. I've done it. I've done it by myself.
By yourself. Okay.
I had to cut it into half sheets, but then trying to hold it while, you have a nail stuck in there and then trying to get that one nail going.
It's torture. It's torture.
It's so hard on the shoulders.
It really is.
Yeah. The worst I've decided, because I redid every floor, ceiling, wall and roof of that house. I've decided the worst job in the world, though, is roofing.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. To be up there on a slanted roof in peril, and it's hot, and you're on a black asphalt, kind of whatever that is, that roll roofing. And you're bending down all the time. Like my knees get really sore. My back gets really sore. I think it's the worst job on the planet.
That's what our friend Brian did for 20 years.
Yeah, he did. He actually did my main roof. I have a lot of different roofs, including a garage.
Yeah.
But he did my main roof. They did a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. He ended up falling off of a roof and really injuring himself.
I think either you or he told me that story, and it was funny. Not the results, but he fell and got right back up, like he was in shock and ran right back up the ladder or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah, well, he said that he got back up on the roof and everybody's looking at him, and I don't know, like he fell down or something at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. So, hey, O5O section, I don't really have much prepared, but I just wanted to say, I'm doing the day job while I've been working like half days while I'm trying to then work on my house to prepare it for these new renters who will be in for 6 months. And so what I'm working on is getting I have a client that does, it's juicywork.com is the website that I built for her. And what I'm helping her do is we have prepared classes, online classes, and we are now preparing the marketing for that. And so we're doing a free webinar. This is the strategy. This is what I wanted to share. What we're working on is preparing the free webinar that will be about 40 minutes. And it's about 30 minutes of really helping people, free quality material without giving away the classes. But then the final and giving freebies along with it. Hey, we got a worksheet for you. You're going to get a lot out of this. And so people have to feel, wow, I got a lot of value out of that. I am now curious about the paid workshops. That is the marketing strategy for this. We will be promoting it on Facebook, where you can qualify your audience greatly. And so it's a numbers game at that point, trying to get let's use round numbers. Let's say we get 1,000 people that sign up for the free webinar. Then you got to make sure they show up, because when something's for free, they're not highly incentivized to actually show up. So you have to do the emails that lead up to it, the reminders right up to 15 minutes before it starts. So let's say that you then get 500 to actually show up out of that 1,000. Most of those are going to just want the free stuff, the free learning, and any freebies you got along with it. But maybe you get 20% of them, which is approximately 100, roughly, out of that 500, to actually sign up for some of the paid courses. That's the strategy. We have to see how those numbers pan out. The first time around with that webinar is going to be a little, we're trying to perfect it as much as possible. It won't be perfect. What we'll be looking for is to perfect it, get feedback, put out a survey, see how we did, see what they like, see what suggestions they may have. And that second time around, to really polish it up, see the numbers that produce for us in the first round and try to double each of those numbers, trying to improve on each of those numbers for
Interesting.
that second round. So that's the marketing strategy for it.
Yeah.
I want to put that out there because I think that a lot of our audience has interest in that. If you want to
I think
go
you're
out
right.
into a consulting gig of your own and you're thinking about putting some kind of classes online, selling some of your services online, this is your best strategy to get a nationwide audience.
Hey, will the session be recorded, or is it something that they have to be there at a certain time?
That is a fantastic question. And I glossed over, I did not hit on that. So I'm really glad that you caught that. It's going to, well, we'll probably record it simply for our own purposes for now. But really the strategy is to hopefully, like after about doing 7 of these, that you got it down. You got every kink worked out. You know all the questions that are going to be asked, so you'll never be thrown a curveball, but you'll have answered all of them by about the 7th one. So now, once you feel confident that it's, now you call that your evergreen webinar. And then you promote that as much as you want in the future and run it on autopilot. It can be played at any given time.
Very nice.
So that's what your goal is to work up to. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, because it's like you're perpetually doing it at that point, and anyone can join at any time. I asked the question because there is a musician out there that has a website called Marty Music, and he has guitar lessons, and I play guitar. And he has all these free kind of things on YouTube, and I've used it. It's really good, actually. But he had a special where you could get some free classes, and this was a little more in depth. And so I signed up for the free classes, and they were very useful. But then I started to receive information about these other classes that I could get at a discount because I was in these free classes. I haven't actually done any yet, but they're very tempting. And I thought, what a great idea this is. And I am going to do it after I finish these classes. I wanted to finish the classes first because they prepare you for the next class. So I love the concept.
Absolutely. And then with my lean consultant client, we're working on, you got to imagine what a tough boat we're in trying to launch him during COVID. All right. So how many people are going to say, hey, come to our plant and check out our operation and help us run it more efficiently?
Right.
There are a few. And, that's why, last week we went over industries that are actually booming as a result of COVID. And that's what spurred that is I'm like, hey, man, we got to find the industries that actually are and target their markets.
Oh, okay.
But the marketing,
there was a method to your madness there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The marketing strategy for him is very different because we don't at this time have online classes. He intends to do a hybrid, of course, with Zoom. Like he has to go in to these manufacturing plants, preferably for maybe a week, depending on the size of the industry, and observe what their processes are and talk to everybody and find out the varying opinions from floor workers to management. And those are going to be very different opinions. And he's very experienced. In fact, this guy started out at Honda in the 80s implementing lean that they brought to the US.
That's when everything really happened with lean.
Yeah, so he knows, he's seen it all. And so that's his methodology. But for the marketing part of it, getting him started, I've always had a tough time getting him to develop content. Some people do. I create a lot of content. I think most people would struggle with that. So with most people, I always say, hey, I need you to create one case study a week. All right. So Friday, you're going to happy hour, whatever your gig is, I can set it up for you to do via your phone. I have worksheets for you that you could fill it out to make it easier. But it's at least you're putting down like your most interesting client or project or service that you perform that week, and you're putting it down in writing. You could do it relatively quickly and efficiently, but we get this on your website and you start building very important keyword phrases that can then be sought out by Google. So you'll get found by your target audience. And it'll include stuff like cities, different cities of people that you're working with, but very particular processes or products that you incorporate that you normally wouldn't think of writing about. So now, so if you're a dentist and somebody is seeking out some very obscure procedure done to your molars or something like that, you would never think to, oh, these are one of my services. But then a client is our potential client is like, man, I got this strange procedure. I'm told by a periodontist that I need performed. Who does this stuff? So they Google it, you come up rather than their competition because you're talking about a case study. It's about your most effective.
Yeah.
So this is a good way to get people that typically have
what a great idea.
Yeah, people that struggle with, I don't know what to write. That's my go-to for all my clients, really.
Right.
And if I could get them to do additional stuff like a podcast or something like that. Yeah. So what Steve, my lean guy, additionally had the idea, and I love this idea because we're working with, just to get certain content from him, he's using the voice activated stuff and just talking into either his phone or computer. And he's like, I can do that. I can talk about lean all day long, but I just can't sit down and write about it. So I'm like, cool, we'll clean it up from there. So what he decided he's going to do, he's starting to work on, he's going to do three-minute segments each week to put on LinkedIn, which is where his primary target audience is. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. So 3-minute segments. And by the time you get to like 30 of these or so, you can just recycle them. People aren't going to be like, man, I saw that 6 months ago or whatever,
Yeah.
No, so now we have continuous content that we can put out there. And it's always good to share content, which, by the way, we share a lot of the highest quality content on our Over 50 Starting Over Facebook page.
So go there.
Yeah. So like us on that and you'll see that in your feed. And it's stuff to do with your career of passion, finding your career passion, things for entrepreneurs, even some dog videos because we're dog lovers. Hey, what's your latest on that? You and Anne-Marie were talking about possibly getting a dog. And I tell everybody, your conversation, what you said to me gave me this horrible realization of how old I am.
What were we talking about? Like getting an older dog? If you get a dog now, by the time the dog passes away, we'll be like 70.
You said you were thinking about getting a puppy this time. And Anne-Marie's like, Merle, you realize if we get a puppy, we'll have that dog into our 70s.
Yeah.
And me, concerned about myself, I'm like, oh my God, I'm that old? Oh, jeez, because we're the same age.
I know what you mean. It's really crazy to think about when you think about just how quickly time goes by. But man, I tell you what, I have seen the cutest dogs lately. You were talking about videos. I've seen the most adorable videos with dogs, and I'll say, oh, that dog, that's the dog I want right there. But it's on a video. It's not actually a dog I could have.
Do you see those videos by, I think it's Dojo? I think it's called Dojo.
Yes.
Oh, they're so touching about rescues.
They really are. The guy
stuff.
it's like a guy, right, that does the rescue. Okay,
I think it's a company.
Anne-Marie, actually, she's into this. She's got there's one guy in particular. He sounds like he's got an Italian accent, and he's just got a way with these dogs. And he finds these dogs. I don't know how he finds them, but the stories are amazing, and these dogs are in such bad shape when he finds them. And by the end, this is like the best dog ever. And
they're
oh my
happy and running
gosh.
around and
You know,
smiling. You
you
could
know what
see
I
a dog
love is,
smiling.
that's what I love, seeing a dog and just wagging his tail and everything. It
Mm-hmm.
just warms your heart, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And I've been going on walks at night. It's been super hot here, by the way, like over
I
100
heard
every
that.
day.
I read that.
Yeah. Oh, it's been awful. But so I wait till the sun goes down, and I go on the same walk that I go on with Stella and my old dog. And oh my gosh, I miss her so much. It's just crazy how much I love that dog. And then I start to think, how am I ever going to find a dog that I love as much as Stella?
Sure.
I know that it's miraculously will happen, but it's still hard to fathom.
So you're like me, you're still kind of in limbo with that then?
I sort of am.
Yeah, I've been on petfinder.com a couple of times, and I do it rarely because it's so hard for me. It's like when I got Bowser years ago, I went to the APL, and I was fighting back tears the entire time I'm in there. I wanted to take every dog out of there. And there are people, you've known people that have said this. Yeah, I went there, didn't find the dog I wanted. I'm like, there's no way I'm going there and not coming out with a dog.
Exactly right, Barry. Well, one day Anne Marie and I were driving around, and we saw the shelter, and she goes, "Oh, you want to go in there?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
There's no way we're going in there and not coming out with a dog.
Right.
And you're all in. Once you get a dog, you're all in.
Absolutely.
It is a life change. That's another thing too, because I do sort of like the whole freedom that comes with not having a dog too.
It's huge, man. I always say a dog is a kid with training wheels.
Yeah, it's a big commitment, but
it's huge.
And I don't have a yard. So that makes
it.
There's a big, and it's not, I don't mind it so much, but then when travel does become
it always
a thing
comes
again,
to that.
Anne Marie has to take care of the dog, which she doesn't mind, but at night our neighborhood is becoming different than it used to be. It's I think this is happening in pretty much every major city around the country right now, where the cities are changing. There's a lot more homeless people out there. There are a lot more people that are on some kind of opiate out there.
Mentally ill.
Heroin has become a big deal here in our area. And like you're saying, the mentally ill are out there. And, I'm not concerned about it for myself, but I am concerned about that for Anne Marie.
I just remembered to change the view to the side-by-side.
You're kidding me.
Oh, I've had a rough day, man. It's 9:30. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning here, and I've already had a very rough day.
All right. Tim, it's Barry's fault.
You're gonna hear it. You do hear it. I know you do. Hey, I did want to say, on top of the dog stories, I came across that because of talking about our Facebook page. If you go to over50startingover.com, our website, you could like our Facebook page from there. You could subscribe to our podcast or see our video, all of it. And by the way, I also wrote 2 articles on Quora this week, and I post them on the Over 50 Starting Over. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see those articles. One is the questions are asked, and they'll select people to send those questions to. And so I asked, one question was, why are most SJWs white and middle class?
What's an SJW?
Oh, come on, man. Really? Social justice warrior.
That's hilarious.
You don't know that. Really?
Well, I'm not an SJW.
True, but it's like such a big deal. The people, keyboard warriors online that are claiming that everybody but them is a racist.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
I'm not hip on that, I guess.
just to summarize, I kind of said it's gotten so bad that now people feel compelled. It's like all the white people that are out doing Black Lives Matters
Yeah,
protests.
there's more of them out
It's
there
like
than anybody else.
people, it's so bad now, this SJW thing, that people feel compelled to be proactive and claim how unracist they are, and everybody else is a racist except them, so that they won't be lumped in with being called a racist, because
And so
everyone's terrified.
what was your rationale for why that is? Because that's
Mainstream media, along with the Democratic strategy of divide and conquer, which
Hmm.
we're going to get to the DNC shortly, but sure. So that article's on there. We'll talk more about that. The other article, the question was, is it bad that I hate everyone at my job? And yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's such
Is it bad? Oh no, it's not so bad. Right. Everyone does.
Really. That's such an O5O question,
Yeah,
for us.
Right.
And but we know.
Have you ever had that? I mean, have you ever? You have.
We talked about this a few weeks ago, or several weeks ago, but about the one person. There's like one person.
Okay, one person.
Yeah, that
different than everyone.
That operates differently than everybody else. In other words, they operate off of negativity.
Yeah, and there's always that person,
and they're trying to bring everybody else down to so they look propped up. That is a horrible. So my sense is that's the kind of person that's asking that question.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
So that rubs me the wrong way. So I just want to say, go to over 50 starting over.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
And the most important thing you could do, if you're like, oh, there's too much going on here, just sign up to our email list, and you'll get the tips, tricks, and our podcast as it launches right to your email box, nice and easy.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Hey, I wanted to bring up work and what's been happening at work, because I'm having a great experience right now. And
I love that.
I just want to say that the business that I'm working for, they have really made me feel like family. They've really brought me into the fold, and I'm having one of those experiences where you just really want that. So my recruiter actually got a hold of me yesterday and sent me a text and said, hey, it's been a little over a month, and how's it going? And I said, man, this is it's all good over here. I mentioned the family thing, but I was talking with you last week. I just wanted to bring it up again that I'm having these experiences where I'm getting out in front of prospects, and they are on Zoom. Mm-hmm. But everything I think about, I have a sports analogy, and this one is really more of a football analogy where, you've got the quarterback that's been on the sidelines here. And, I've been in sales management for the last, 12 years. And now I'm carrying a bag, as they say. And so getting out there and being that guy, it's like, and really being the salesperson on the team is like being a quarterback and coming into the huddle and calling the plays. And man, I'm having these experiences that they feel like I've driven my team down the field and scored through the touchdown pass, and I'm back on the sidelines with my coach and said, hey, let's do that again, man, that was fun. And so I mean, it's been a great experience. At the same time, it's bringing the business up to speed, and patience isn't always my virtue. And so there are times where I'm feeling like, I want this to happen so much faster. I want to build my pipeline so much faster. I only have so much energy to be able to do that, and so much time in the day. Boy, time goes by so quickly. And I used to work at an amusement park, and just this voice came into my head and said, hey, Merle, this is like being on a roller coaster, and you're on that first hill, the first hill where it's like click, 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 and you're going up that hill, and it's this sort of the anticipation, some anxiety. And it's like, Merle,
that's what it's about, man.
Before you know it, yes, exactly, it is like that. But before you know it, you're going to be on that hill, going down the hill with your hands up like, woohoo, so this is where we are right now. It's, you have to keep both picks. You got to do both, right? You're gonna have both sides of that coin. So anyhow, it's
Geez,
been fun.
you got a lot of good messages there, and I want to just bring them up. First of all, what incredible follow through by your recruiter to come back
Yes.
a month later. I love
He's
that.
become a friend of mine. I've known him for years. So this is the thing about that business, is that it's not a one and done type of a business.
That's for
It's where,
sure.
he didn't make any money off of me until just recently when I took this job. But we've been talking for years. We've been friends for years, and he's really good at what he does. So yeah, good observation.
That's really great. Love the perspective that he has there, as well as you. And I do want to say that I mentioned that client that has I did the juicywork.com website for. It's all about becoming a career coach, similar along those lines,
Mm-hmm.
which is, so many people are displaced right now because of COVID, or because of
Right.
just downsizing, companies going out of business. A lot of people, of course, are just unhappy in their current job. So there's more people in flux than ever. So this is about the most growing field that I can think of. And if you have the right personality and approach it with the right attitude, I think it would be like the most rewarding career as well. When you're
Hmm.
helping people find the right job for themselves, and getting food back on the table, that's
Yeah.
probably a little extreme, but you're helping
Eh,
improve people's lives
yeah.
dramatically.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Thus the follow through, because if it's
Mm,
really important to you, it shows, and you're going to
yeah.
do those things. And by the
Yeah.
way, the recruiter, his name is Ian. He watches the podcast too.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, Ian, how are you? Thank you for taking care of my buddy. He's a lot happier today. Now, two other things I want to say about what you said. The the atmosphere of the place that you're working for sounds
Hmm.
tremendous. You said that they make you feel like family right now.
They have.
Whoever is heading up the top principals of this corporation, they must be incredible people. I've said before, I recognize early on all the different clients that I've worked for over all these years. I recognize early on the entire culture comes from the one or two people at the very top, or however
I
many.
agree. I
Yeah,
totally
so
agree. And in this case,
kudos.
I would totally agree. And our CEO is very involved in the business, and he reaches out. He actually sent me a personal message when I first came on board, and I'd actually forgotten, but I had worked for this company in my past, and they merged and merged again and became a different name and all
Right.
that. And he wrote a message to me and said, "Welcome back," and said a couple of things. And it was just kind of nice to have that personal touch. Like he reached right out to me. So
Yeah.
I that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, so we have ways to scrutinize this as you're job seeking and working with a recruiter, like Glassdoor.
Mm.
I always like to look at companies, how they're rated on Glassdoor. That'll tell you about the chief operators of that company right away, is how high or low they are rated, how
I have a
happy their
question
employees.
about that,
Hmm.
because a lot of times I think when I look at that glass door, that these are just the disgruntled people, that this is why they were motivated to go to Glassdoor. And maybe it's that guy that you mentioned earlier
Yeah.
that hates everybody
Yeah.
anyhow and feels superior to everybody, and nothing can satisfy that person. Sometimes when I read those comments, I think,
Mm.
is this the same guy that's writing all of these?
Yeah.
Uh,
What you're asking there, what you're saying there, is very valid and very important. And in the marketing world, we call this reputation management. So it can come via a Glassdoor rating, or it comes from Google reviews, Facebook reviews, and right now there's way too many, Yelp, things like that, where you get reviewed.
mhm,
That's your
mhm.
online reputation, and it's super important, because
It
how
is.
much product or service you sell is going to be directly related to how high your reviews are. So you say that about, well, is that just a disgruntled employee? Well, the smaller the business means the less reviews, means the more impact each one of those reviews has. So one bad review can be relatively devastating. So you have to gauge that. Okay, this is the direct answer to your question. How important are these reviews? Because how valid? Well, the difference between a 3-star rating and a 5-star rating in a very small company can be one review. So it becomes much more important. But as you get to mid-sized companies and above, you as an evaluator of these things, reading through the reviews, you have to sift through that. You know that there's, a 10% of people are just negative and they only post negative stuff anyway.
Right.
And so you know that, and you even know when you read their actual review, you get the sense. If it's a restaurant or something, every restaurant has a bad day or a bad performance with some
Right.
clients. It happens once in a while. But if you have 500 reviews on there and 95% of them are really great, people get that sense. So it's up to you to qualify those. It's the same thing with going on Amazon Prime and trying to rate, is this movie worth watching? Because it has 4 stars. And, most of us go straight to the bad reviews because, a lot of people too, I don't think this applies to Glassdoor as much as it does other review sites, but a lot of people will pay people to front load good reviews to start off. First 20 reviews are really canned 5-star reviews. And you could see through that on stuff on Amazon products and stuff like that. If there's not a lot of reviews, read through those and you can see they're just a bunch of canned stuff that they're just
interesting.
getting product off
I hadn't thought of that.
Well, we are moving along. Carnies, there you go. You know all about that. We're moving right along. I think we got to get to current events.
Oh my gosh,
because so much
stuff going on now.
You take it away. You take it.
Well,
what do you want to talk about?
Oh God, where do you start? Well, okay, the Democratic Convention has been happening this week, and
yes, it has.
I tried to watch it, Barry. It was so hard.
I bet. I mean, I avoided it. I intentionally avoided it.
For me, and I don't know, I try to be very objective when I watch these kinds of things because I know I'm a conservative and they have a different point of view, and so I try to watch it. But this was one of the, and I'm very interested in politics, have been all my life, but this was one of the hardest events for me to be able to watch. It was like watching a train wreck the entire time. It made me feel so bad about myself. It made me feel terrible about America. It made me feel terrible about our future. It seems to me like everything about it was just an indictment on our way of life and the way things are going, and especially about the president. I've never heard so many angry attacks on the president of the United States when you're trying to prop up another person for the office. I mean, this was just frontal attacks. I mean, I just wrote some of them down, but I think on the first day, the thing that made me, have to change the channel was they had a woman on there that was talking about COVID-19. And she talked about her father who had passed away, and it was a young woman. And she said that her dad had voted for Trump. Now, in the meantime, she's got pictures of her dad and her with the family and everything. And then she talked about how he died of COVID-19, and the only pre-existing condition that her father had was that he believed Trump, and then it showed him in a casket dead. And it went on to talk about how COVID-19 was all Trump's fault, and that the way everything was handled and how the economy was shut down was all because of Trump. The kids aren't able to go back to school because of Trump. Hillary came on and accused Trump of stealing the last election. I mean, first off, what? Stealing the last, really? I mean, this is the person who challenged Trump in the debates and said, would you accept the loss if it turned out that way? As if, he was going to have a hard time with that and challenge that. And for the last 4 years, you've heard nothing but sour grapes from her.
I can't believe that either of those Clintons actually have a perception of providing credibility.
Well, they were both involved in the Democratic Convention. Bill Clinton came on.
I saw his,
and you did see that.
A bit of it, yeah. I saw a YouTube video.
First off, an ex-president attacking the sitting president is really
Obama did worse.
Nearly unprecedented. Obama was terrible. It was terrible.
The whole thing was a disaster from everything I've read about it, and I read really balanced stuff. But it's to go to what you're saying here. The point you're making is apparently the entire platform is still just hate and fear, which is what CNN's been doing for the last 5+ years. And I said, back when I used to be on Facebook and all the political crap was being thrown around, it probably still is. I'm rarely on it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But I would always say, hate is not a platform. Who's your guy or girl, woman, and what do you stand for? And I've read that there are no policies. No one has any idea what the policies are for the Democratic platform right now. They're still not talking. They're still only talking about hate still to this day.
That's exactly right, Barry. The whole thing, it's very hard to tell. What exactly is the policy here besides we're going to build back better? I mean,
what does that mean?
How many times they tried to inject that slogan into everything that they said, and really portraying Joe Biden as this almost a messiah type of a figure, that he's going to come in and he's going to build back better, and he's got this very kind heart, and he's done it before, he's going to do it again. What? He's done it before? What book are they reading? When did he do it before?
Yeah,
I don't really understand all the attributes that they said that he had. Look at the campaign. I saw him say that somebody was a lying dog face pony soldier. I saw him attack another person, say, "You want to do push-ups? Is that what you want to do?"
I mean, remember that.
He got in people's faces. He said that if we're not willing to, if black people aren't willing to vote for him, then they're not black.
That was about the worst.
That was the worst, and I'm still like,
that's when he said,
I'm ready to arm wrestle him over that one.
Right. That's when he said to that black guy, if you don't vote for, he goes, "Oh, you're not black, man." Something like that.
Yeah, come on, man. It was Charlemagne the God. But he was saying that to the entire black population. He actually said that blacks were really monolithic in their thinking. In other words, they're always going to vote Democratic Party. They all believe the same thing. They all think the same way. How racist is that? This is not a nice guy. This isn't a guy that they portrayed him as this great guy that can build back better. And speaking of that, the slogans that came out, we heard that Trump wasn't putting in the work. Both Obama, ex-President Obama and ex-President Clinton said that for some reason they believe that Trump's not working. In order to defeat this COVID-19, you've got to put in the work. Are you kidding me? Yeah. The guy works around the clock. How is it that you're telling? But if you repeat these slogans over and over again, right, somehow people are going to believe this. We heard the slogan "Black Lives Matter," and then on top of that no lives matter until Black Lives Matter. This is one of the, if you really think about some of these things, this is one of the worst things that you can say. First off, Black Lives Matter has a premise that somehow we believe that Black lives don't matter.
Correct.
Well, who believes that? I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know one person. I don't know one person that would actually say that.
Right.
and mean it. I
Right.
don't think I've met one person. I've never met anybody that
I
would say
have.
that.
Growing up, I grew up with, there was a racist small family.
Okay,
But
yeah, there's that outlier
there are
family.
outliers.
Yeah,
There are
exactly.
outliers. Yeah.
So you're not gonna get rid of that. That's not gonna go away,
Right.
and that's not the blight on America that's happening today. It's just not happening. Those people are looked on, and we make fun of them.
But you
Um,
know what? All of this hate, and this is fear mongering here. This is divide and conquer again. All of the racist stuff. My article about the SJW speaks directly to this. But um, what it absolutely appeals to the CNN viewers, the shrinking audience that is known as CNN, and
yes,
because it's that whole Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, I know that sounds so inflammatory, but it's true, it's real. So people really have gotten addicted to this hate, and they wake up in the morning, get their coffee, and they turn this stuff on and get programmed to what they're supposed to, the hate and anger they're supposed to feel for the day. I think that's horrible.
I think it's horrible too,
But
and
I
I
also
gotta
think it's
say,
shrinking.
well, I did
People are
see
turning away from it.
MSNBC and CNN after President Obama spoke and after Michelle Obama spoke. Oh my gosh, talk about a dereliction of what actually occurred on the screen. You would have thought that Jesus came back both times. I mean, the way that they say, "Oh, that was so eloquent," and the way that, "Oh, they really nailed it this time." Even I watched Fox News after Michelle Obama spoke, and it was so interesting because you had three of their regulars saying, "Oh, she really stuck the landing there," and it was Donna Brazil that said, "Well, I was disappointed
Really?
because." And the reason she was disappointed was because it was pre-recorded, and so she didn't mention the fact that Kamala Harris had become the first Black vice presidential
Mm,
candidate. So
mm,
that's why she was disappointed. It
right.
figures,
Yeah.
but I mean, she was the only one that was disappointed.
Mm.
It's the news coverage of this has been terrible. I just think this whole thing has been terrible. Wait, I got a couple others.
Yeah.
Vote like our lives are at stake, because they are.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding me? And then of course Michelle Obama's, when they go low,
Yeah.
we go high. Are you?
That is the biggest lie. From the first time she uttered that, I smacked myself in the forehead and went, "You got to be kidding me."
Is she seeing what's happening in these major cities right now that are run by Democrats?
Exactly. I think, you know what I wanted to ask you? Did they start spinning that as Trump's fault yet?
No. In
Because,
fact, they completely avoided it. They never brought it up, not
oh,
once.
oh, okay. I'm surprised because I've been curious. I've asked you, like, how are they going to spin this? Because I have no. It's so crazy that
Well,
go ahead.
if you look at it, they did make allusions to
Mm.
the crazy political environment that we're in. They didn't actually say
Ah,
it was that it was these cities that are rioting or anything like that, but they made references like that, and absolutely said that this was because of the divisiveness of the Trump administration and the
oh,
hatred that he's injecting into our society. In fact, he's just ruining society. I mean, they,
and
they were point blank about that.
And another thing I've seen as one of Biden's main talking points is that he is supposed to be able to bring the country together. This is unbelievable to me. This is the party that's been working so hard for the past 10 plus years to divide the country as much as possible by injecting racism into everything. And then we're going to sit here and talk like he's going to bring us together. That is why most of it, I know a lot of moderates like myself that voted for Obama the first time around, thinking he was going to help continue to heal racial tensions. And racial tensions were not that bad back then, but he did the opposite. And we've been on this collision course ever since. And a lot of us regretted voting for Obama for that reason. So to tell us that Biden is going to bring us together. This is the exact opposite of their entire game plan for over 10 years.
Well, if you think about another slogan, and they're full of slogans, but another one is diversity is our strength. And you know, the thing about slogans is that they say them so many times that you don't actually think about their meaning. But if you really think about diversity being a strength, that doesn't make any sense, because it's unity that actually is strength. If like, for instance, just look at a chord. If you have a diversified chord, you could easily tear it apart. But if it's all going the same, wrapped around itself, it's unified. Unity brings strength. You can have diverse people, but if they're not in unity, there's no strength there. So having diversity as your strength makes absolutely no sense. Like, oh, so this means that if I get people of color and people of this race and people of that race, then I'm going to be strong. It doesn't mean that at all. The foundation of strength is unity. What are you talking about? This is idiotic. And by the way, I just want to say this. I don't want to live in a world like this. I don't want to live in a world where the first thing you think about is somebody's color. What kind of world is that? I mean, I am seeing pure racism happening on the news, where they're talking about white people and saying, oh, they've had their day. It's time. I saw too many white people up there. And, they need to get in the background. That is racism.
Yeah, it is.
Pure, that's disgusting racism. And what they have done
hate.
is
it's hate.
They've made it so the first thing you have to think about is somebody's appearance, what their color is.
Racism.
I mean, here's the other thing too. I saw a guy on the news last night that's part of the Trump administration, and they were saying that he was asked how many gay people are in the Trump administration, and his answer was classic. He said, because apparently there were like 2,200 gay people in Obama's administration. He said, I have no idea. We don't care about that. we don't ask people what their sexual preference is. We see people as people. You see, that's the thing. America's not built on diversity. It's built on unity. People are people. People are made under God. And by the way, they took under God out of their platform in the Pledge of Allegiance and the DNC. People are made under God. We are made the same way. On the inside, all of us bleed red blood. We are the same. That's what this whole country is about. We should not be thinking about what color somebody is. We should be wanting to help our fellow man because they're our fellow man. And I'm sick of that.
I hear you.
Wish that it wasn't like that. But they're driving that point. The whole DNC convention was about how systemic racism is the worst blight on America right now. And it's just not the truth. I've not experienced it.
When did someone come up and coin the phrase systemic racism? Because it's all they say now. But it's really new, isn't it? Like a year old, I think. I'm guessing.
I don't know. I have
but
no
it's
idea.
Their catchfasm now, and it's a disgusting one.
It's one of their slogans.
Really exist.
It's one of their slogans. They're driving these things into our heads because they think we're idiots. That's what they think, we're idiots.
Oh, they play us like
say this a bunch of times. Merle and Barry are going to believe it.
Sure.
And it's like, come on. Who do you think? What are we, lab rats?
No, for sure. To speak to how divided that party is, you were talking about diversity and the meaning of it. I read that AOC was really angry that she only got a 1-minute spot, and because she's so freaking entitled that she thinks that she speaks for everybody. And but yes, so she only got 1 minute, and the party is like, we got to downplay the far left faction here. And they're trying to show now that they're more moderate. In other words, they're very splintered. That party's a mess.
They really are. And as a matter of fact, so 2 things came out of this convention, at least as of yesterday before the third night. The ratings were down from the last DNC convention 42%. That's huge.
Wow. Yeah, it is.
So everyone thought it was lame and boring and very fake. It seemed very insincere,
Oh, everything
actually.
about it sounds horrible.
The fact that they didn't have people there, that was, new, but it just seemed very forced. And when they had the nomination for Joe Biden, and he stood up and his family was behind him and they're cheering, oh my gosh, that just seems so fake, just fake. And Joe Biden looked like a deer caught in the headlights too. There's just something not happening there cognitively, it looks like to me.
I know. Well, and the less he speaks, the better off the entire platform is. They know that.
Whole thing.
They know that.
This is, and Mike Wallace talked about this. Is it Mike? Anyway, from Fox News, and he says, "Look, they're not taking interviews. They're not speaking to the press. This is unprecedented. It's never happened before."
4 years, and they come up with Joe Biden. 4 years to prepare for this. And like I said earlier, I was throwing out there on Facebook all the time, well, who's your guy? Oh, anyone but Trump. That's hate. That's not a platform.
It is not
anyone
a platform.
but Trump. That's ridiculous.
Here's another thing that happened during the DNC convention is that the president's approval rating shot up to 51% during the convention. Whoa. So exactly what you're talking about, their strategy of hate Trump, actually turned people off who were watching the convention and caused them to approve of Trump, which is really interesting. But you're making a great point.
They're really treating people like fools. Here's another thing though, because I really didn't want to vote for Trump this time around. I have been more and more looking at the Libertarian Party, trying to find out more about Joy Jorgensen and watching some of her YouTube interviews, that kind of thing. It's just not there. It all seems horribly underfunded and underprepared, but she does talk a lot about reducing the size of government. And that's something that I want to hear badly.
Me too.
So
I agree.
I've said a few times online, I just think that this is a gigantic missed opportunity. What is now too late for this November. What a gigantic missed opportunity. Average everyday schmo, I think, could win this election over Trump and Biden if they just got enough exposure.
Yeah. That's the problem, right? Is that I don't even know who Joy Jorgensen is, to be honest.
Exactly.
It's a shame, right? It's a shame.
It is a shame.
Hey, let's move on here.
Sure.
Did you see in Portland this guy that they're trying to chase after? His name is Marquise, and it's actually Marquise Love, that attacked this guy Adam Hayner and kicked him in the back of the head.
I saw that. That was horrible. That was horrible.
I mean, the violence that's happening right now, and they're trying to say, "Oh, these are peaceful protests," and the mayor is even in the face of that, in the face of they burnt down or they set on fire one of the county buildings this week. He's still out there talking about how he supports the peaceful protests and everything. In the meantime, you've got this guy, Marquise, the guy that kicked the guy in the back of the head. First off, what a scum this guy is.
That is.
That you would kick. This guy was trying to protect a transgender woman who was being attacked in a Black Lives Matter peaceful protest, right? So the crowd turns on him. They drag him out of the car. They punch the lights out of this guy while they force him onto his knees. And while his back is turned, this one guy it says security on the back of his back of his shirt, kicks the guy in the bed, knocks him out in the most brutal, merciless fashion I've ever seen.
Any idea how that guy is today? Is he okay?
Yes, he's back home, which is great, but he's spent some time in the hospital. I don't know any more than that.
Okay.
I do know that the Portland police they're on a manhunt. They're tracking this guy down. And I also know that this is so brazen. He's actually gone online on social media, and he's gone on Snapchat. He insists he's done nothing wrong. His quote, might go to jail for murder tonight for a racist, when all I did was fight him. So the other guy's the racist. Love purported, wrote, according to an image obtained by the Sun. Look it up on Twitter. Put money on my books and come see me. Asking for money.
Oh my! Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! I don't have anything more to add to that. That was just horrifying to see that, though.
So meanwhile, the city itself is having big problems. Today in the news, Portland business bailing on the city. From the story, businesses are leaving. Andrew Hone, president and CEO of the Portland Business Alliance, told the press the financial consequences to the downtown corridor are a running calculation that is almost impossible to wrap your mind around, he said, with one company already saying the riots have cost $20 million in damage and loss to business. While national media has ignored the violence in the city, local media in Seattle, we're in Seattle, have been harassed by thugs. So you can't, the media themselves, they're going after the media. I mean, this is, and you don't even mention this in the Democratic National Convention.
I don't get it, man.
Let me throw one other thing at you. Lori Lightfoot.
Yes.
She banned protests on her block this week.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Think about that.
God,
think about
that's
that.
funny.
They have these
The
riots.
hypocrisy.
I know, right?
Merle, here's a serious question for you. Have you seen any? This is what I wonder about: is how are their constituents taking all of this? Are there polls that are showing that the people they voted in the office, the mayors and governors, are just falling out of favor? Whether you're talking about New York, Portland, in Oregon, California, with all the businesses leaving because of the tax increases and all of this, all these Democratic cities and states, are there polls that are showing, like, are the constituents like, no, we're still behind them? Do you know?
That's been the crazy thing, is I have not seen anything like this. And you're right. I mean, we live in a democratic society. How can you get reelected when your city is like this mayor in Portland?
Burning down?
How can he get reelected with this? With all the businesses leaving, the tax base is leaving. Yeah. Chicago, the same thing. New York. Just
de Blasio's got to be the worst mayor they've ever had.
I think he might be the worst guy in America.
He might be. It was funny. The last podcast last week, I said, that guy's going to have to really brush up on his resume. And you go, he's going to need to change his identity.
he is. He's going to have to wear a disguise. Just this week, he had this whole scandal about his wife has a staff they're paying $2 million a year to her 14-member staff, and so De Blasio, trying to defend this, says, oh well, she's not getting paid a dime, right?
Yeah.
And she's got a heart for the mentally ill and the mental challenges we have in the city. I did a little research. About they've actually funneled about $850 million to her project for mental illness, and the city is complaining for two reasons. One, they haven't seen anything in the last several years that would say they're working on it, and two, they can't account for the $850 million. Where is it? What have they done?
Wow. Oh my God. But boy, do I agree that mental illness needs to come to the forefront?
Absolutely. But you put it in the hands of somebody like De Blasio and his wife, and the money disappears, and then he says, oh, she's not getting paid a thing.
Right. No, this, like everything else, in my opinion, needs to be outsourced to private industries, get some competition in there, and make sure you get results, that there's accountability. And then we can get some things done.
Is that things like Black Lives Matter, defund the police, mental illness, all these things where they're supposed to have good intentions, right? When it seems like when they go into politics, they somehow the money disappears,
right,
and nothing, the problems get worse. Because here in California, the whole thing was, oh, well, we got to spend money on this homeless crisis that we have, and we need to build these houses for homeless. I haven't seen any houses being built for homeless, but although our taxes have gone up to support this, the problem has expanded exponentially.
It always will.
And it
Yeah.
usually seems to be on the Democrat Party. I'm not saying Republicans are innocent. Here's what I see the Republicans
Not
doing.
at all.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They're
No,
not doing
no.
anything.
The system, it's so corrupt. The entire system's so corrupt.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to start winding up, but do you have any seen any good programming lately? Anything interesting?
Well, I wouldn't. No, I haven't. I've been so heads down. I haven't
Mm.
really seen any good programming. I did want to bring up this whole Netflix thing where they've got this show that they had to apologize for recently. It's called Cuties, and the definition of the show is an 11-year-old girl becomes fascinated with twerking.
Which that's a disgusting thing to me. Anyway, turns my stomach. Yeah.
It is terrible, and you should see the actual picture they took for the show. Looks like these 11-year-old girls are strippers, and so
how did they get the idea in their head that this was a good thing to run with?
Well, it's funny that they actually came back this week and they apologized for the artwork. Okay, but the content of the show, they're not going to apologize for that. It's mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing. Netflix needs some reform in and of itself.
I agree.
I do see some occasional good stuff on there, but overall, now they're trying to set an agenda for sure. They're on board with the far left message for sure, and the divisiveness.
Yeah.
There was one last thing I forgot to mention about what you said about your job and your approach to it.
Yeah.
And that is, I also love the way that you gamify it, that you said that you feel like you're a quarterback and you're achieving these milestones and you recognize that you put in the work to get the rewards. The whole thing, I absolutely just wanted to stress the healthiness of your perspective on your job. It should be an adventure. You should see it as a game and a process that has those kind of very team-oriented rewards. You also said you felt so integrated with your team that you don't want to let them down. Everything that you shared with us about your experience with your new job is very, very healthy. And I think that we need to take that with us.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. As you were talking, I just thought about just old times with the Cleveland Browns and back at the end where Bernie Kosar ended up getting traded to Dallas because he had diminishing skills. And right away, because Dallas was in the playoffs and they started Bernie in that first game.
Right.
And he totally dominated in that game. And
reading plays off his wristband, by the way.
Remember that? Yeah, he didn't have time to memorize the playbook. But, this is a guy that had diminishing skills. And I was so inspired by that you're never out. And something about that makes me, not that I had any experience like he had, but just getting back in the game and being able to throw pinpoint accurate touchdown passes like that. Right. There's something that I can relate to on that, and it feels really good, Barry.
Totally agree. Want to wind it up?
Yeah,
Got any parting words for us?
Well, all I can say is this: get ready for the Republican National Convention next week. I'm so hoping that it is the opposite experience of this week. I'm not going to hold my breath for it. We're going to see. And I got to say this. I still have faith and hope in not a man, not a president, but in the philosophy of America. And that in the end, this country that's built under God is going to prevail and things are going to get better. And I just think that we need to hold on to hope right now more than ever. We're going to get through this COVID thing. We're going to get through these elections. We're going to get through the fake mail fraud thing, and we're going to make it.
Nice. I like that. And guys, I wanted to tell you something that occurred to me today is wanted to let you know that we record at 9:30 to approximately 10:30 on Friday mornings. And
Eastern time.
Eastern time, that is very important. So it is, what time is it for you?
6:30 to 7:30.
Yes.
No problem.
Yeah, yeah. So if you actually wanted to get a question on Address Live, you could email us at mail@over50startingover.com. And
Nice.
yeah, if it's a decent, if it's a non-profane question, we'll read it on there and we'll try to address it best we can. So, hey, thanks a lot, everybody. Merle, can't wait to talk to you next week.
You too, Barry.